Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Florian, and today I'll present you the results of the experimental campaigns of the DIMPACT project. So as Jean-François said, I am doing my PhD thesis on the project. So it's a partnership between France Énergie Marine, ENSTA Bretagne, and Ifremer. So first, the outline of my presentation. So I'll first present the objectives of the campaigns, of the experimental campaigns. Then I'll present the experimental setup, the breaking waves that we used. I'll briefly present a new methodology that we developed to compensate for the load oscillations which are induced by the vibrations of the mock-up. And then I'll move to the experimental results. So the objectives of the experimental campaigns were to study the influence of different parameters on the breaking wave impact loads. So we studied the influence of the distance between the breaking location and the front face of the mock-up. We studied the influence of the pitch angle of the turbine, of the mock-up velocity, and of the breaking severity. And the experimental results were also used to validate probabilistic, semi-analytical, and numerical impact models within the DIMPACT project. So first, the experimental setup. So the experiment took place at the wave flume of Ifremer. So the flume is equipped with a piston-type wave generator and with an absorbing bleach, and it's about 40 meters long from the piston to the beach. So here is a picture of the mock-up. So it's a cylinder which is fixed on a 6 degree of motion, 6 degrees of freedom motion generator that we call the hexapod, and the hexapod is fixed on a hanging frame. So here is a video of a breaking wave impact during the experiments. And yes, the scale of the experiment was 1/25. So no more details on the mock-up. So it's a segmented mock-up, and we have 4 sections which are instrumented. So the instrumented sections are labeled S1 to S4, and inside the mock-up it looks like this. And actually, each section is made out of a backbone element, a load cell, and a skin port. And the only link between the skin port and the backbone element is the load cell. And this allows us to independently measure the loads acting on the different sections during a breaking event. No, the breaking wave cases that we investigated during the experiments. So we defined the breaking cases thanks to the study presented earlier by Christophe. So what we did is to generate breaking waves through focalization. So we used a numerical wave tank to generate the different breaking waves. So here you have an example of the profiles of the breaking waves at the instant of breaking that is obtained using the numerical wave tank. And we generated breaking wave with different breaking intensity. So here is the gamma parameter that was presented by Jean-François. So this parameter is representative of the breaking intensity of a wave. So it corresponds to the time derivative of the ratio between the horizontal fluid velocity at the crest and the crest speed. And as you can see, the bigger the gamma, the more intensive the breaking is. So the orange wave corresponds to a small speeding breaker, while the green wave with an important gamma corresponds to a strong plunging breaker. So here is a list of the different wave cases that were investigated. So we have so they were generated through focalization of a Johnson spectrum. So the different columns corresponds to the different parameters of the spectrum. So the peak period and the significant wave height. And as you can see, we have different groups of waves. So a first group with a peak period of 2.25 seconds, a second group with a peak period a bit longer for 2.5 seconds, and one group made out of one wave, of one shorter wave. And one thing you should note is that so this wave is breaking on the focused wave, and for those waves we are breaking one wave before, and for both waves we are breaking even two waves before. So which means that we had very different breaking wave configurations, and a various range of gamma parameters. And one last thing concerning the breaking waves. So we measured experimentally the free surface profiles of the different breaking waves. So we did this using a high-speed video camera. So we filmed the interface between the wall and the free surface, and we detected this interface using a contour algorithm. So it corresponds to the detected point corresponds to the blue dots, and we use a checkerboard to allow to reconstruct the free surface profiles in the film coordinates. And this is the kind of plots we can obtain. So the red lines correspond to the free surface profile obtained using with the numerical wave tanks at different instances, and the dots corresponds to different repeats of the experimental runs of the different repeats of the same wave. So what we see is that we have a very good repeatability from one to the other, and we have a rather good accordance between the experiments and the numerical wave tank. Now I'll briefly present the method that we developed to analyze the data and to compensate for the force oscillations in the force signal. So breaking wave impact create very impulsive loads, and so this means that it will excite different modes of the cylinders and of the sections. So on the left, I plotted the force which is recorded during a breaking wave impact. So this is the force only on the upper section. So as you can see, it's very oscillatory, and this is due to the excitation of different modes of the sections. So here is the Fourier transform of this curve. So you see that we have different modes that are excited. So each peak corresponds to a mode. So what we did is that we installed accelerometers on the section. So on each section we installed 6 accelerometers, and we said that the hydrodynamic force can be obtained as the measured force plus a linear combination of the different accelerations that were measured. And to identify these coefficients, we used we carried out hammer tests, and this is the kind of reconstruction we obtained. So the blue curve corresponds to the raw load signals on the first section, and the orange curve corresponds to the reconstructed force signals. So the sum of the blue curve plus a linear combination of the acceleration. And what we can see is that we were able to compensate for an important part of the load oscillations. So in the following, for the results, all the results that I will present will be using this methodology. So the load corresponds to the orange curve, to the compensated load. So now I'll move to the experimental results of the campaign. So what I call here the impact force is the sum of the load measured on the 3 upper sections. So this corresponds to the 3 sections which are above the still water level. and I will often study the maximum of this load on the 3 upper section. So I'll present results on the position of braking with respect to the cylinder, on the braking intensity, on the inclination of the cylinder, and on the horizontal velocity. So first, the influence of the distance between the braking location and the cylinder. So we call this distance delta, and it is represented here. So this is the distance between the braking point, which corresponds to the point at which the free surface first becomes vertical, and the front face of the cylinder. So what we did is that we varied this distance delta for the repeat of the same wave, and we did this for waves with different braking intensity. So this allows us to obtain this kind of curves. So what I plotted here is the maximum of the load on the 3 upper section as a function of the delta parameter for different braking waves. Each dot corresponds to 1 repeat of the impact case, and each impact case was repeated at least 3 times. So this allows to take the mean of the different repeats and to obtain the solid curves, the solid lines. So the lines corresponds to the mean of the different repeats. So now, if we non-dimensionalize the previous results, we obtain this kind of curve. So F is non-dimensionalized using slamming formulas that were already developed. And basically, the F here corresponds to the curling factor, which is actually the height of the braking waves, which is considered as braking. And the delta parameter is non-dimensionalized with respect to the characteristic wavelengths. So this is the kind of curves we obtained. So for cases with different braking intensities, and the point corresponds to the maxima of these curves. What you should note is that those three waves here have different wavelengths. However, they display similar gamma values. And one interesting thing is that once the curves are non-dimensionalized, they are very close to each other. And on the right, I plotted the maximum of F with respect to the gamma parameter, and we obtain a very linear relation between these parameters. So it seems that the maximum impact load that we can obtain evolves linearly with the gamma parameter. So now let us move to the influence of the pitch angle on the braking wave load. So for 2 different waves, we carried braking wave impact with an inclined mock-up. So the rotation point corresponds to the red dots here, and it was taken here to minimize the effect of the delta changes due to the rotation. So what we see here is mainly the influence of the pitch and not the influence of the modification of delta. And we varied delta for theta, sorry, from minus 15 degrees to plus 20 degrees. And as you can see in the range of interest, so going from -5 to +5 degrees, we have a rather linear evolution of the braking wave load with the pitch angle. Now let us move to the influence of the horizontal velocity. So we carried out braking wave impacts on a moving on a moving mockup. So I've explained by Christophe in the previous presentation, the structure is more likely to be moving in the wave direction during breaking wave impact. So we limited the investigated cases to cases in which the cylinder is moving in the wave direction. And we varied the velocity of the mockup. And this is the kind of curve we obtained for two different breaking cases. So the fourth here is plotted as a function of the horizontal velocity of the mockup. And as could be expected, we obtain a decrease of the load with the velocity of the mockup, so which means that the dynamic properties of the dynamic behavior of the wind turbine will tend to decrease the breaking impact loads. Yep. So now for the conclusions of the experimental campaigns. So we improved the accuracy of the load measurements, so thanks to the compensation methodology. We studied the influence of gamma, delta, the horizontal velocity, the pitch angle on the slamming load. We observed that a pitch of the turbine in the wave propagation direction tends to decrease the impact load. Similarly, a velocity in the wave propagation direction tends to decrease the impact load. We also observed that the delta parameter is of primary importance on the impact load, and that the gamma parameter appears to be a good candidate to account for the breaking severity of a load, to account for the breaking severity of the wave. Thank you for your attention.